All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We are here to talk about the Wisconsin Conservation Congress and why it's so important, and some of Sierra Club's resolutions that we're encouraging people to submit. We've got a lot of great volunteers from all across the state who will be sharing about the Conservation Congress and how you can get involved. And first, I'm going to have introduce Diane, who's going to talk about her experience with Conservation Congress a little bit, why it's important, and how you can get involved, generally speaking.
Well, thank you. We actually, in the Conservation Congress, and all of us in the state, we've had the power all along. We just need to be heard. Our history books told us about the annihilation of wildlife in the 1800s, early 1900s for market hunting, sport, and a loathing for predators. In response, the citizen group called the Wisconsin Conservation Congress, the WCC, was founded back in 1928, and it was to ensure wildlife would never be decimated again. Aldo Leopold, amongst other conservationists, recognized the need to protect our natural resources and our wildlife. 5 delegates per county in Wisconsin are elected from a cross-section of residents to represent the WCC. We in Wisconsin are lucky. We've got the only state in this country that is funded to have an advisory board, the WCC, to the Natural Resources Board, which is the NRB. The NRB then, in turn, is the right arm to the Department of Natural Resources, or the DNR, in policy making regarding all of our natural resources. The WCC spring hearings are located in every county in Wisconsin, the second Monday in April of every year. The majority of those who serve as WCC delegates are consumptive users, and those are people who enjoy hunting, fishing, and trapping for food, recreation, and sport. Hunters do feel they pay for wildlife management, so they feel entitled to sit in the driver's seat regarding matters involving nature. However, they do nationally make up only 4% of the population, and in actuality, the non-hunting public contributes a 94% of the funding nationwide for wildlife conservation and management. The WCC is poorly represented by non-consumptive users, and that includes wildlife watchers, hikers, bird watchers, artists, and photographers. Non-consumptive users have been left out of the loop in the WCC, when in actuality, we have had the power all along, had we chosen to step up to the plate. I would urge others to join me as I serve as a WCC delegate representing my county. Legislators may look to the results of WCC spring hearings and believe they reflect Wisconsin's values while never recognizing Wisconsin's non-consumptive users' concerns are not addressed. The Wisconsin Supreme Court precedents established the Wildlife Trust, and Wisconsin statutes codify wildlife as belonging to all Wisconsin residents. This year, in the absence of a Spring Conservation Congress hearing, there's an opportunity to send in resolutions bypassing the usual requirement of getting your resolution passed at the county level first. You're allowed to submit 2 resolutions. I just used the template provided at dnr.wisconsin.gov about WCC spring hearing, followed the instructions, and sent in my resolution per email. It was really easy to do. You can vote online in response to the resolutions on the 2020 WCC Spring Conservation Congress questionnaire. The online input option will go live at 7 p.m. on April 13th, and it will remain open for 3 days or 72 hours. Through the years, there have always been spring questionnaire questions that kind of seem to push the envelope a little, like mourning dove, wolf, albino deer, feral cat, and sandhill crane hunting. This year, there's a question involving trapping of Wisconsin's state animal, the badger. Badgers are a nocturnal animal that dig into sandy banks to make their homes. They're so rarely seen, the DNR has no idea how many there are. So to assess the population, a 3-year trapping season is proposed. Question number 18 involves establishing a spring bear hunt. The bears are hunted shortly after coming out of hibernation by baiting or stalking. Lactating females or those with cubs are not to be killed. However, females with cubs may be unintentionally killed as the mothers forage apart from the cubs in the spring. It is difficult to tell the sex of a bear, even from a short distance, and most orphaned cubs will die from starvation, predation, or exposure. It is time for all Wisconsin residents to be active participants in the discussion of coexistence with nature, be it wildlife, woods, or water. We must be willing to step outside of our comfort zone. We need to shake off apathy for the greater good. Consider becoming a delegate, submit resolutions, and vote. dnr.wisconsin.gov about WCC spring hearings. Our presence must be heard and felt to facilitate a change in the status quo. I do presently serve as a WCC delegate for my county. My views are mine alone and do not necessarily reflect those of the WCC. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Diane. And as Diane mentioned, there are a lot of ways to get involved in the Conservation Congress. One way is to submit resolutions. Those are due today. And we have 3 different people on the line with us, and my cat meowing in the background. 3 people are on the line with us to talk about 3 resolutions Sierra Club is recommending that our members and supporters submit today. So we'll start with Catherine, if you want to talk about the resolution you worked on.
Yes, so I drafted our resolution about NTEK, and that is the proposed NTEK power plant in Superior. Is probably something a lot of Sierra Club supporters already know about, and in fact, one of the Act at Home chats last week was about that specifically. So if you want more information, I would suggest seeing that. But just as a quick overview about some of the issues with NTEK and why we wrote a resolution about it. The proposed plant would be extremely harmful to the surrounding environment and community. It would destroy wetlands, which are important for flood control and also have cultural importance in the area. It would release damaging methane and CO2 into the atmosphere. And then the fracking process is also super water intensive, and it could dry up the existing aquifer in the area and lower groundwater levels. And that aspect is what we especially focused on in our resolution. So the resolution specifically asks the DNR to deny water permits for NTEK. This is the next most direct step that we can take against this plant at this time. The water permitting process will probably happen in the next few months, and the threat to the area's water sources from this proposed fracked gas plant is one of the biggest problems with the project. And the DNR has already recognized that some of the water use required by a fracked gas plant may not be sustainable in this area. So this is definitely a promising lead in stopping this plant from ever being built.
Great, thanks so much. Next, we'll go to Phyllis to share our resolution about line 5.
Hi, I'm Phyllis Hasbrook, and I work on the tar sands team that's part of Sierra Club and 350 Madison. And line 5 is a oil line that goes from Superior, Wisconsin, and it goes across Wisconsin, the northern part, and then across the upper peninsula of Michigan, through the Straits of Mackinac, through Michigan, and back into Canada. And it really needs to be decommissioned. Instead, Enbridge is trying to renew a piece of it by making a workaround to go around the Bad River Reservation, because the tribe has sued them to make them take their pipeline out. And so this resolution is calling on the governor to not approve the reroute and to decommission line 5. And just a few points about why line 5 is so dangerous. One is to the Bad River Reservation, and the tribes people have discovered 2 places way back in the woods where 50 feet of pipeline is exposed to the elements now, and 28 feet of that is not even supported by the earth anymore. The earth has eroded away. So this makes it very vulnerable to a tree falling on it or any kind of thing that could happen and cause a break. And if it did, it would totally contaminate the wild rice beds and really their whole watershed, and then it would get into Lake Superior, so it would have a huge effect on everyone. And then the other very important place is in the Straits of Mackinac, where it splits into two pipes and goes along the bottom, and it's 67 years old. The coating is corroding. It got hit by an anchor last year and dented. So it's just a disaster waiting to happen, and the contamination would very quickly spread to all the Great Lakes if it happened there underwater. So it's really important that people support this and get the governor to be against Line 5. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Phyllis. And then our third resolution is about Every Kid Outdoors, and I'll pass it over to Anthony to talk about that.
All right, sounds good. Thank you. So you are correct. So mine is Every Kid's Outdoors. So the Wisconsin DNR, we're asking they accept the outdoor pass at the state level, allowing for free park state admission for fourth graders and their families. So currently the Wisconsin DNR does not accept the National Every Kid Outdoors Pass in state parks. This pass, originally called Every Kid in Every Park, is part of a federal initiative that was created to give free access to national parks to every fourth grade student and their family. The goal is to increase accessibility of public lands, encourage children and families to build positive experience. And it was successful, wildly successful, with over 2 million kids accessing the pass nationwide within the first 2 years of the program. So inspired by this, several other states, including Idaho, Maryland, Nevada, and New Mexico, began accepting the pass at state parks. And they've seen the impacts of this being positive, and the program provides an important way to connect children with the outdoors. And so for many Wisconsin residents, the sense of conservation begins at home. The state parks are beautiful, and they're an important part of our tourism economy, and limitations should never occur that prevent children and their families from enjoying these state parks. So we highly encourage the acceptance in this resolution, and hopefully we can get this expanded down to the state level here in Wisconsin.
Great. Thank you all so much. So for those who are joining us now or watching the recording later, we will be posting the links that have the steps to submit these resolutions, as well as more information about how you can vote. Again, voting opens next week on the 13th. So thank you all. We're going to pause the recording at this time, and then we'll have time for Q&A and some chat after that.